Networking can be a powerful tool in life, and not just for people like me who are building a business. It can be powerful for anyone looking to build relationships or improve their life. Networking can create job or learning opportunities, expand friend circles, improve your love life, and so much more. But what are some of the common mistakes made when we network? What are some of the different ways to network outside of the obvious ones? Welcome to this week's episode of Tough Coffee Shop Talk. I'm your host, Rhonda Lavoie. Each week, I meet with members from the Tough Collaborative to chat about varying topics, and each week you can join me here as I review the topic of the week. We have a wide range of topics discussing anything from business building tips to personal development ideas. And the best part is I feel the topics can touch anybody, no matter what their adventure in life is. If you're self-employed, entrepreneur, working in a corporation, stay-at-home parent, retired, or even in between jobs, I think there's just a little bit for everyone. So I'd like to dive right in. Let's get to this week's conversation of the week. In real estate, there's actually a couple of different ways to build business. You can build it through relationships and networking, ultimately, or you can build it through what we call cold leads. So cold calling, door knocking, calling for sale by owners, calling expireds, etc. And they're definitely two different skill sets. And the skill set that I prefer to dive into is the networking and the relationship building, just because it feels really good to me, and I feel it's something that I excel at. If that's not your style, that's totally okay. I'm not saying that the other is incorrect. I'm just saying that this is my way. And so networking is something that I thought would be great to talk to the group about and ultimately bring to you here, because it's a great way to obviously build your business, but also just expand your life. But it's not something that comes naturally to everyone. And even if it does come naturally to you, it's still a skill that you can build on. So I thought it would be a good exercise to just talk about some of the mistakes we make so that you can just become aware. Because if you're aware of, the errors in what you're doing, it's easier to correct them. So I just want to talk about some of the common mistakes we make when we're networking. So first off, one of the main mistakes is when you're networking, you focus on yourself, kind of that what's in it for me situation, talking too much about yourself or the things that you need or the thing that you're trying to sell, instead of, creating a genuine connection. If you can switch that around and just be a little bit more curious, asking open-ended questions about other people, show interest in their challenges, projects, and goals, build a rapport or a relationship, you'll certainly open up for success when it comes to the relationship with that person. And it's not easy to do because we often find ourselves feeling voids in conversations with information about ourselves. But if you can switch that around and just ask those open-ended questions and get that person to start engaging, they'll leave the conversation feeling really good. And that is your ultimate goal, is to create a relationship with someone where they feel good about talking to you. And if you become a good listener and, not talking about yourself so much, they'll leave the conversation feeling that way. Another common mistake is treating networking as a transaction. So if you go into it viewing it as kind of that one-time deal, one-time transaction, rather than building long-term relationships, you're not going to have as much success. If you think of networking as kind of like planting the seed and cultivating it over time, you'll have more success. I would even challenge you to not intentionally mention, what it is that you do or what it is that you need at the very first meeting, because it just seems very, very needy. Instead, I would challenge you to maybe offer some value first, share information, make a connection, give them some resources before starting asking for favors or looking for business. This third one is for sure one of the biggest fall downs that people make when they're networking, and it's failure to follow up. So when you meet someone and you're networking, and you exchange cards or contact information, or you connect on Instagram, or, whatever it is that you do, be sure to follow up. Ultimately send them something in the mail that will get the most attention, because of course today nobody gets anything but bills or junk mail. So if they can actually get something addressed to them, a nice handwritten note, it'll stand out. But if that's not possible, maybe you don't have their mailing address, or it's not part of what it is that you're wanting to do, reach out by email or a text, LinkedIn message, Instagram message, whatever it is, how you connected with them. Follow up. Let them know that you enjoyed the conversation. Maybe even loop back to the conversation that you had, pointing out some of the things that you talked about, or bringing that back up, so that they know that you were listening and that you were engaged in the conversation and that you ultimately care. But follow-up is absolutely one of the areas that people do not succeed with networking. That's the big missed step for a lot of people. Is follow-up. Is they do the time, and then, come home exhausted and completely forget about it, and then rinse and repeat and do it over and over and over again. But you're not going to create relationships simply by going to the networking situations and, rubbing elbows. That absolutely helps. But continuing the conversation away from the networking event is crucial. So please add that to your arsenal, if you will. And I just kind of want to pause here for a second, because I'm kind of talking about networking events, but note that networking isn't always a multi-to-one. It isn't an event always. It can be running into somebody in the grocery store and talking to them then. It could be sitting beside them at, watching your kids' sports game. It can be a birthday party, or, a bowling league. It can be different boards if you belong in different boards. It's ultimately instances where you are meeting other people, you're networking, you're creating relationships. So that leads me into kind of another area that we fall down a little bit, is we don't recognize the opportunities as networking when they truly are networking opportunities. So I challenge you, and I challenge you guys a lot on this podcast, but that's kind of the point, is to help you grow. I challenge you over the next week even to pay attention to opportunities that you have to simply be having interactions and conversations with other people. What are those opportunities that are coming to you? And some of them are just going to naturally happen every day. Honestly, if you leave your house, you probably have the opportunity to network with somebody. You go get fuel, and the gas jockey that fills your vehicle, that's an opportunity to, network with somebody, have a conversation with them, create an impact with them. Your barista, when you get your coffee at the coffee shop, your server at the restaurant where you go with your family, those are all opportunities to create connections and opportunities to have a positive impact on somebody. It can be going to the office. It can be getting your groceries, going to your membership meeting, whatever it is, there are opportunities there. So I challenge you over the next week, discover the opportunities you have and determine, what are some of the things that you could be doing a little bit differently based on this conversation today to improve on my networking skills, and ultimately try and, get some sort of positive result out of it in the end. So, what is the thing that you can get from it eventually? Other areas that we fall down a little bit is failing to listen. That's a big one. And it's big because this is the second time I'm kind of mentioning it in this conversation, but waiting your turn to speak instead of, interrupting and adding your information to it. So practice active listening. Listen to what they're saying. Hold your thought until they're done their thought, so that you don't interrupt them. And Don't get distracted about the things that you want to say. Listen to what they have to say. So practice active listening. This is something, it's a skill, honest to God, it's a skill. And it's something that I work at all the time. I am for sure not great at it. I work at this all the time to try and improve on it. So failing to listen and be an active listener is definitely an area that, is something we fall down on. Now the next one, I'm sure we've all been there. We've been at a networking event where there's someone that is just being too pushy or too aggressive. They come on too strong. They'll have a pitch for you right away, pushing to help you too soon. They're just coming across just uncomfortable. Everything about it feels uncomfortable. If that's you, you're going to want to first build trust. When you're interacting with someone, build some trust before you get into the pitch and the pushy. Think of it as a conversation, not a sales call. Let that relationship grow before you start asking for something, and it'll come across so much more genuine. People will shut down as soon as they're, being pushed at and having that aggression. So just maybe put yourself on the other side of the conversation that you are bringing across, and how would it make you feel? Think that way. Maybe that'll help. All right, this next one's a big one. Neglecting nonverbal communication. So lacking professionalism in your body language. So you have maybe poor eye contact or a weak handshake, or appearing distracted, constantly looking at your phone, fidgeting, looking elsewhere. Those are all nonverbal cues that will just create a negative impact on the person that you're having the conversation with. So a way to switch that around, you want to make a positive impression, have good posture, smile, have good eye contact, show genuine enthusiasm, be engaged in the conversation physically. Use your verbal communication and pay attention to theirs as well. There's lots of conversations about mimicking the other person when, in a conversation. So mimicking their body language. So if they sit forward, you sit forward. If they sit back, you sit back. Be careful with that. Yes, there is some value in doing that, but be careful how much you do it, because it can come across as a bit of mocking and a little bit too obvious that that's what you're trying to do, like you're trying too hard. So be careful with how your nonverbal communication as well, that you're not overdoing it in trying to replicate what they're giving you as well. Just try and be genuine and comfortable and yourself. Now let's talk about the failure to expand your networks outside of your comfort zone. So if you're always networking in just your area, so it's maybe just your industry or just your age group or just your family networks or your friend networks, you might be missing an opportunity here. Because if you can expand out into different professions, and this is certainly something I've learned a lot in the last couple of years, because in Saskatoon real estate up until a couple of years ago, I thought I should be looking at only my peers for my networking. So just the real estate agents within the Saskatoon area, that should be who I should be interacting with and learning from. But I've since gone outside that in two ways. I've gone outside Saskatoon. I've gone globally, looking at relationships with agents that are in other markets. So, Texas, New York, BC, Toronto, all over the place, trying to create connections there and networking with those people, because I gain valuable insight outside my market. But I also network outside my industry. And this one's actually probably the harder one, because I've done it so long inside my industry, I have a hard time finding people outside my industry. So inside my industry would be people like real estate agent, mortgage brokers, real estate lawyers, interior designers, etc. They're easy to connect with because you kind of have that thing in common. But I've been trying to branch out and network with people outside that because I also want to learn from that. So, people like life coaches, entrepreneurs that are in different industries, they have maybe storefronts or online courses in different areas or whatever that might be. So trying to expand outside kind of that safe zone, if you will, to ultimately, my goal in trying to go outside that is to learn from people outside my industry, because it will help me become better in my industry, because I understand and I can look at things differently based on the experiences I have outside. So one of the areas that people, fall down a little bit is networking and keeping it safe. So I encourage you to try and expand out into different areas, different experience levels, different backgrounds, because it'll help give you some diversity and grow your business in ways you never even imagined, or grow you as a person in ways that you never even imagined. All right, a different area that we need to consider: focusing on quantity over quality. I have been to networking events where you watch these young new agents just handing out business cards left, right, and center, trying to make the most impact in their opinion. It's almost like speed dating. Let's have as many conversations as we can, as quickly as we can, without any value, without hearing a single thing but, hey, I handed out 15 business cards tonight. Honestly, you need to focus on quality over quantity. If you have one good, solid connection compared to 15, they completely forget who you are connections, you're doing so much better. Because honestly, the majority of people that you meet, if you did not create an impact to them, those business cards that you handed out are just going straight to the trash. They are never going to look at it again. But if they can feel impacted by the conversation that they had with you, having some quality to it, you will have created a genuine connection that will actually become something to you. So do not focus on quantity. It is not speed dating. Networking is creating relationships and, adding value to each other's lives. So yeah, just stop handing out the business cards massively like that. It's not doing you any favors, just costing you money. Here's one that I'm sure will connect with just about anybody who's ever done any amount of networking: is the people that network only when they need something. So you only ever see them at networking events when they're at their lowest and they're desperately in need of something. Otherwise, they're too good for networking and they're too good for you, so they aren't there. So whether you're that person or if you experience that person, you can see that it's really not adding any value, that if you're going to be doing networking, you need to be showing up all the time, or often. All the time's extreme, often, and not with your hand out every time. You need to be there contributing and giving back value instead of just being there when you need the handout or you need the help. One more area that can be improved upon is be organized. Don't show up to networking events without business cards in your pocket. Try and remember the conversations with the people. Don't lose track of the contacts. Be responsible and keep organized the information. So when you're done at a networking event, have a system to be able to keep track of who it is that you talk to. Make some notes. It's hard to keep track of all these conversations. Make notes about these people, because I promise you, if you go to an event and you're going to see that person you met 3 weeks ago, but you forget the details of the conversation, but if you can go to your notes and you can relive what that was and refresh your memory, when you see that person again and you remember those things, you're going to look like a rock star. Write down the names of their kids or what their pets are, or, where they work, what their pain point was, what it is that, the conversation was about. If you can remember those things and be organized about it, it will go a long way. It does seem a little bit fake. I understand that, keeping notes doesn't seem genuine, But our goal is to get to that feeling of genuine. And it's hard to do when you're meeting multiple people at a time. So if you're taking the time and the care to make notes about a conversation, people will feel that. They will know that you care about them because you cared enough to pay attention and keep track and then revisit your notes later so that you could have that conversation. You'll stand out, I promise you. Now, last area that we often fail is we forget the power of the small interactions. I talked about this a little bit earlier, but don't forget about those casual conversations, that coffee shop conversation or the community event or, bumping into somebody at the post office or at your mail bin, whatever that is. Don't forget about those things. Those are important interactions. And sometimes the most valuable relationships come from those moments. So don't underestimate the power of those small interactions. A lot of my interactions are actually the small ones. I like to have one-on-one coffee meetings with people. I'll intentionally create those opportunities for myself so that I can have those moments because I just love them so much. And to help you, I actually came up with a list of these casual networking opportunities just for a way to enlighten you and spark something in you so that you can pay attention to when these things happen to you and identify them as those opportunities so that you can, do something with it. Make notes from the conversation so that you can become the rock star, learning the name of your barista so that you use their name, etc. So I'm just going to go over the list so that you can have it to add to your arsenal of how to be prepared. So some everyday interactions would be like waiting in the line at the cafe or the grocery store, talking to the person behind you. Conversations with neighbors. In Canada here, it's easier to do that in the summertime because we're outside more often. Wintertime conversations come to a standstill. But hey, we're almost there. The snow's going to start to melt soon. So hopefully we'll be able to have those neighbor conversations again soon. Talking to parents at the school or extracurricular activities. Casual chats at the gym or your fitness classes. If you're ride sharing or carpooling, conversations with baristas, your regular vendors, or your service providers. How about community and social events, your local farmers market, cultural or food festivals, charity walks and runs, local meetups for hobbies, hiking, knitting, book clubs, town hall or city council meetings, community gardening projects, volunteering at food banks, shelters, or nonprofits. And some of this is going to give you ideas of different places to go or activities to add to your list too. Like maybe you don't do these things currently. Maybe it's something that you could add to your to-dos to have some more casual networking opportunities. Workplace and industry events, office break rooms or cafeterias, happy hours or after work drinks, community social events, team building, celebrations, seminars, conferences, and workshops, networking mixers tailored to your industry, property tours or open house events, post panel or Q&A networking conversations. Or how about some shared activities like fitness classes or sports leagues, like yoga, CrossFit, soccer, hockey. Learn-based activities, so cooking classes, photography workshops, trivia nights at pubs, painting, pottery, or DIY project events. So at my house, with the Tough Institute, I've hosted different events. For instance, we've done vision board workshops at the house here, so it's always a great way to meet new people. You could do dance meetups or classes, music groups, open mic night, band rehearsals. There's also professional networking that are a little bit more formal, but not that formal. So chatting with colleagues or industry peers on LinkedIn. So that's not even an in-person. That could be an online. Ask for brief coffee meetings with professionals you admire. This is one that I do. Engaging in discussions or comments on social media platforms like Twitter, Reddit, or other forums. Participating in local business association gatherings. Hosting casual lunches with industry peers. Joining a co-working space or shared offices. I used to be at a co-working space, and it was great to be able to meet different people because it kind of gave us as entrepreneurs that water cooler talk, right? You'd have a chance to take a break and go visit with other people and network a little bit. How about educational opportunities? You could have alumni reunions or events for schools and universities, classes, seminars, or skill building courses, speaker series or panel discussions at schools, study groups for certification or licensing. Some online networking. You could meet in Facebook groups or meetup groups dedicated to your industry or your hobbies even. Online forums and communities, virtual summits and webinars with post-event social chats, a Slack or Discord community, commenting on engaging with blogs or podcasts. How about around your personal interests? Maybe at church or in religious groups, game nights, board games, video games, hobbyist events, car clubs, woodworking, collectibles, attending music concerts or art exhibits, restaurant openings, brewery tours, wine tastings. Maybe your interests around travel and leisure. It could be like networking while flying. So airports, lounges, sitting next to somebody on a flight, group tours or travel excursions, hotel lobby or concierge conversations, resorts, cruise ships or vacation rentals, event-based trips, so sports matches, marathons. There's also parent-related networking, like your parent-teacher meetings or watching or coaching your kids' sports games, waiting during lessons or extracurricular, planning or attending birthday parties, play dates, or school fairs. Micro networks and small gatherings, small dinner parties or cookouts with friends or family, book clubs or movie nights, weekly coffee meetups with a small group, interest-driven small masterminds, so network forced or focused or career focused. Networking through helping others. This list is long, you guys. There's lots of opportunities here. Networking through helping others. So volunteering to mentor or guide others in the industry, offering free advice or answering someone's questions, inviting someone to collaborate on a project, referring or introducing people to others in your area. There's spontaneous opportunities, striking up conversations while walking your dog, chatting with someone while shopping for industry-related products. I used to do it. I used to be a smoker, so smoking was a big one. You could just chat with people out smoking because you have to go to a specific area. Thankfully, I don't smoke anymore, but I do miss the conversations. Participating casually in local conversations or sharing tips like home improvement stores or real estate offices. I've actually done this. Like you'll be at the home improvement store and you'll overhear somebody talking about, oh, I need such and such. And you put yourself in the conversation and help them out. Networking through your rideshare or your taxi driver or hotel. Couple more here. Local organizations. So Toastmasters, that's a good one. It helps you with public speaking and will also connect with other people. Rotary clubs. A friend of mine is in a dart league. Professional women's organizations and meetups. Trade groups. So there's just so many opportunities there. And then, of course, you have seasonal stuff too, like holiday parties, summer barbecues, year-end business luncheons, picnics, parades, all sorts of different things. So there's so many opportunities for us to make connections and convert those connections to whatever it is that we need in the moment. And that sounds incredibly selfish, but let's face it, that's what life is. We're creating relationships in hopes to have a better life. That's it. So this is just some lists on some things that you can do to create better relationships to have a better life. And just like that, that concludes our episode this week. Thanks so much for being here. It really does mean a lot to me. If you haven't already, please subscribe or hit that follow button, as I'd love it if you came back week to week. If you're looking for more information on the membership, check out tuffinstitute.com. That's TUFinstitute.com. Or if you want more information on me and my real estate business, you can check out rhondalavoie.exprealty.com. Looking for me on socials? I'm on Instagram, rhondalavoie_TUF, and you can just find me by my name on Facebook, Rhonda Lavoie. reach out anytime. I'd love to hear from you. I really hope you have a marvelous day, and I can't wait to bring you an episode again next week.